In many conversations, the word sorry appears before anyone has decided who was responsible. Imagine a crowded subway platform during the evening commute. Someone shifts their bag to make space and accidentally brushes another person's shoulder. Both people say sorry almost at the same time. Neither of them pauses to determine fault. The apology happens automatically, almost as a reflex. This pattern appears repeatedly in everyday situations. A coworker apologizes before asking a question in a meeting. A passenger apologizes when asking someone to move their seat slightly. A person apologizes while interrupting a conversation, even if the interruption is necessary. In many of these cases, the speaker has not clearly done anything wrong. Yet the apology appears quickly, often before the other person reacts. One reason this pattern persists is that the human brain tends to use decision shortcuts in uncertain social environments. Determining fault takes time. It requires interpreting the situation, estimating responsibility, and predicting how others might respond. In fast-moving interactions, people often bypass that analysis. Instead, a quick apology functions as a low-cost social signal. From a risk management perspective, saying sorry early can prevent a small misunderstanding from escalating into tension. The speaker signals awareness of the other person's presence and acknowledges that the interaction could have caused inconvenience. Even if no real fault exists, the apology reduces ambiguity. This is especially noticeable in environments where strangers interact. Frequently public transport, busy sidewalks, shared offices, retail counters. In these spaces, people have limited information about each other. They cannot easily predict how the other person might interpret an action. Under these conditions, small gestures that reduce friction become common behavioral shortcuts. Apologies are one of those shortcuts. Another pattern appears when individuals anticipate potential criticism. For example, someone might say, "Sorry if this sounds obvious." But before offering an idea in a discussion, the apology appears before any negative feedback has occurred. In this case, the apology acts as a form of preemptive signaling. It softens the introduction of the statement and lowers the perceived risk of appearing overly confident or confrontational. Over time, repeated exposure to social feedback strengthens these habits. People learn that small apologies often make interactions smoother. They see that conversations tend to continue more comfortably when a minor acknowledgement is offered early. As a result, the brain gradually stores this response as a reliable option in uncertain social moments. Environmental cues can also influence how often this behavior appears. In highly structured environments, formal negotiations, legal discussions, or situations where responsibility is clearly defined, apologies tend to occur less automatically. Participants often pause to determine whether an apology implies liability. But in everyday informal interactions, where the stakes are low and relationships are fluid, the cost of apologizing is minimal. Because the cost is low, the behavior spreads easily. Another subtle shift can be observed in how apologies are used to manage conversational flow. In group discussions, a person might say sorry while speaking over someone else, even when the overlap happened naturally. The apology signals awareness of the interruption and reassures the group that the speaker recognizes the shared space of the conversation. The word itself becomes less about admitting fault and more about maintaining coordination. Over time, the meaning of the apology expands. It can acknowledge presence, signal politeness, smooth transitions between speakers, or simply mark awareness of another person's perspective. Seen this way, the frequent use of apologies without clear fault may not be about guilt at all. It may be a small behavioral tool people use to navigate environments where interactions are brief. Information is limited, and maintaining smooth social flow is often more important than identifying responsibility. And in many everyday moments, the quickest way to keep that flow moving is a single word spoken before anyone stops to decide whether it was actually necessary.